We do have a guest who joins us this morning, Mr. Judd Saul. He is a humanitarian. He is the founder and CEO of Equipping the Persecuted and a long-time advocate for displaced communities, displaced Christian communities in Nigeria. Mr. Saul, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you, Chamberlain. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, so for those who are seeing you for the first time, who don't actually have a grasp of what you're doing and why you're doing what you're doing, could you give us a background as to why you're doing what you're doing here in Nigeria?
Well, Equipping the Persecuted is a boots-on-the-ground mission. We work with Nigerians all over the Middle Belt, and our main goal, since we've been created, was to assist the persecuted Christians in Nigeria respond to the attacks as quickly as possible with food, aid, medicine, to the best of our capabilities and resources available. And of course, we've been a very big advocate for those persecuted Christians.
Okay, so we understand that you did play some role in that report that was submitted by Congressman Moore in terms of part of the research and then the congressional hearing as well. How deep were you? What kind of role did you play?
We've been advocating for Christians in Nigeria for a long time, and when this came about and President Trump took interest in this, we were one of the groups that they reached out to find out what's actually happening, because there seemed to be a lot of misinformation, especially coming out of the Nigerian government and the mainstream media as to what's actually going on. And who do they turn to? They'll turn to Americans who actually are in Nigeria, know what's happening.
Well, I'm sure you've also have heard different narratives. Some say the characterization given to what's going on kind of weakens the entire narrative and takes away from whether or not it's actually going to get the kind of attention or the kind of solution required. So when you say Christian genocide, could you give us a background as to how you came about that, calling it a Christian genocide?
Based on what I've seen with my own eyes, and based on who people we work with on the ground in Nigeria see with their own eyes. The dead bodies, the names of the victims, the multiple Christian villages that have been completely eradicated don't lie, and it is a genocide when you're completely wiping out entire Christian communities off the map in Plateau, in Taraba, in Benue, and entire towns, communities completely gone and destroyed and renamed even after the attackers take over the communities. It only points to one thing: it's genocide. And I don't know how you can play word games or mind games to deny that reality. But, I see a lot of scheming in Nigeria and a lot of maneuvering and planning. It's like in Nigeria, they can come up with a scam or a scheme for any possible scenario except for the truth itself.
Well, some people will say that we've sort of, it's nice to speak with you, Mr. Judd, Saul. Some people will say that we've since moved beyond this, even though it appears that we haven't quite done so, especially given the report of Representative Riley Moore, Congressman Riley Moore. I just wanted to, because I know that you've been in the country for quite a while. From what we see, you've been working in Nigeria since about 2011 or so. It's a long time before you finally founded your organization, Equipping the Persecuted. But for a number of Nigerians, they know that the issues are also a little more complex than they appear on the surface to be. There are issues of extremist jihadist movements that are affecting not just Christians, for instance, but also Muslims. And, they believe that the manner in which the conversation has been framed as to just persecuting Christians, as though they were the primary targets, rather than they also being, let's say, a part of the, alongside other victims who might not necessarily be Christians or Muslims, and that framing is problematic in a country as diverse, as multi-ethnic, as, with many religions as we currently witness, and has the potential to create even more chaos, even more problems than we're currently witnessing. Given your knowledge, because I'm not very certain how far in Nigeria you've traveled, if you've been to the southern part of Nigeria, if there are just certain areas that you have been to, from your own understanding, and you can tell us other parts of the country that you have been to, how would you characterize, for instance, the Boko Haram terrorism, which took root predominantly in places like Borno State, which also took out many communities and displaced lots of people from their communities?
Well, first, I think people do a disservice to what's actually happening in Nigeria by just calling it, well, it's a complicated situation. It's you have Boko Haram, you have ISIS, you have the Fulani ethnic militia. You have three different essential terrorist elements in Nigeria that are operating. What do they all have in common? They all want to take over Nigeria and turn it into their own type of caliphate. And they will not work, they do not work well with others. And so, yes, Muslims are being affected by the terrorism is because you have Boko Haram on one side, you have the ISIS faction on another, one, they don't like each other. And the Fulani don't like ISIS. Sometimes they get along with Boko Haram, sometimes they don't, but they do have one agenda, and that is conquer Nigeria, turn it into a caliphate, and anyone that doesn't agree needs to be eliminated. I mean, this is what they've said with their own words. When you have terrorist elements that tell you what they want to do, and they tell you their end goal and objective, we should probably take them seriously. And we shouldn't be laying cover and protection for their agenda. It's very clear. Now, terrorist elements all over the world, when they don't get along with one another, they kill each other. But they have one thing in common. Let's eradicate anything that gets in its way. And they all have another thing in common, and that is they hate Christians. And you don't see Muslim communities being completely wiped off the map and renamed. You don't see, I'd say for every Muslim that's killed in these attacks, and based on my numbers, it's 5-to-1 ratio. 5 Christians are killed for every Muslim. And of course, there's going to be people in the middle that are attacked that are part of this violence, but it is a continuous targeted attack to get rid of specifically Christian communities because, one, they don't ideologically agree. So they get in their way of the politics, and that's what's happening. What we're witnessing right now is a real-life jihad taking place against anybody ideologically and religiously.
Okay. Well, you've got this terror tracker, which was worrying when people look at that. So looking at that terror tracker, how did your group come up with this? Because there seem to be threats all over the place.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Looking at it's nttmap.org, Nigeria Terror Tracker, nttmap.org. And we have imported every attack in Nigeria that's taken place over the last 5 years. In about 1 week, it will be every attack since 2001. And each attack has source documentation. These are documented attacks. how did we get the information? Combined from data from several sources that we went through, and we verified each claim, each data. This took several months and several man hours to put this together, but it gives you a clear visual of what Nigeria is dealing with in one picture. And it's not only just, here's the attacks, but it's who did the attacks, who perpetrated, verified who were part of these attacks. And it's a great resource for people to look at. And I think for Nigerians to look at internally and say, you know what, instead of playing word games, we should probably address this issue.
May I ask, though, why Nigeria? Why are you interested in Christians in Nigeria?
I came here in 2011 with my grandfather, who was doing mission work here in Nigeria. And when I first came to Nigeria, I fell in love with the people, fell in love with the country. And, coming from a place like America, and just as a Christian and seeing fellow Christians in Nigeria that don't have the comfort we have in America, that don't have, the resources, and they're struggling every day just to live. But when I saw Nigerians show up on Sunday wearing their Sunday best and giving it all to the glory of God and praising Him despite all the afflictions, all the stuff that's happening to them, they have a joy in the Lord unlike anything I've ever seen. And that's what made me fall in love with this country.
All right. So as we wind down, the bill before Congress, it still has some hurdles to cross. Are you confident that that bill will eventually pass?
I believe that there's enough support in the U.S. House to pass it, and I think we can get some bipartisan support, even from the Democrat side, and get some votes on it to pass.
But there's got to be something in this for America, isn't it? It can't be just large or basically humanitarian, is it?
From what I understand, the United States, the State Department is doing humanitarian and aid differently than it has in the last 50 years. And after talking to Riley Moore, Congressman Chris Smith, Senator Hawley, and others in the U.S. Congress, they don't have an economic bent to this. These are representatives, senators, and congressmen that want to do the right thing, and they really do care about humanity, and this is their way of doing it. And I think working with the Nigerian government, and really showing the Nigerian government that the power of the United States actually cares about what's happening here, I think we can get a lot done and save a lot of lives.
All right, Mr. Judd, Saul, thank you for talking to us this morning.
God bless you. Thank you.